Hey, it's Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com and welcome to the What a Vegan Eats channel. Today's video is going to be addressing some frequently asked questions I get about my food sensitivities and the low histamine diet. If any of you are brand new to this channel, I record daily videos documenting the foods that I eat. I talk a lot about this low histamine diet that I'm experimenting with right now. So one of the first questions is, what is the low histamine diet? Well, I want to do a whole video about what that is and go really into depth about what I've learned and how to do it. I'm probably going to do that on the main Eco Vegan Gal channel soon, but right now I'm still learning a lot about it myself. I found out about this type of diet through conversations with other people, I think actually suggestions from people on this channel here, and just doing some research. And basically it's a type of eating that people do when they have a lot of histamine type reactions. So for about the past 10 to 11 years, I've had symptoms that seem like I have severe allergies or a cold or a flu. A lot of sneezing, a lot of nasal congestion, different sinus issues, swelling, issues with my eyes like dry eyes, itchy eyes. I get reactions in my ears, like the inside of my ears get really itchy, or I'll have a buildup of earwax. So all of those type of things that we think when we have an allergic reaction to something, I have that on a regular basis. Plus on top of that, I have digestive issues. And I started getting these symptoms, like I said, about 10 or 11 years ago, and have been down a lot of different paths with it. And the low histamine diet has been one of the most helpful things I have ever done, if not the most helpful thing. And what it does is it focuses in on foods that are low in histamines. A lot of people don't realize this, but there are a lot of different foods that we eat on a regular basis that cause these type of histamine reactions. And if you're sensitive like I am, they will flare up and you'll have all these kind of allergic reactions to them. That's at least from what I understand of it so far. So there's a list of foods. It's a pretty quote-unquote restricted diet, so there's a lot of foods I can't eat right now, and it's a learning curve. It's it's an adjustment period because there are a lot of my favorite foods like chocolate or avocado or eggplant or tea, kombucha, fermented foods. A lot of things that I love to eat are not quote-unquote allowed. I'm always very careful with the word restricted or allowed because it's always a choice, but those aren't considered low histamine foods. And by taking those foods out of my diet, I've really had a huge reduction in my reactions to foods. One question that I get almost every time I post a video is, have you seen a doctor about this? The answer is yes, absolutely, and I'll share some details about that later in the video. Another question I get pretty frequently is, have I done a blood test to be tested for allergies or any other type of allergy test? The answer is yes, although I would like to do another one because it's been a long time, and I'll talk about that as well. And then I get a variety of different questions like, do you think this might be leaky gut? I do think that it's related to the gut for sure. I'm not sure if it's actually leaky gut. Some people have asked, do you think it could be candida? I don't think it's candida, and I'll talk more about that soon too. Well, let's just jump into my history here if you want to know some more details. So these symptoms started to happen about 10 or 11 years ago. At least that's when I really started to notice them. I bet they were there for a long time, maybe most of my life, but I had never really noticed them. It wasn't until I went vegan that I really started to pay attention to how my body felt on a daily basis and how it reacted to the foods that I was consuming. And about a year or so into being vegan, I started noticing gut issues. And I went to a gut specialist, and he basically said, it's probably because you're eating so much soy. I didn't even realize that the soy was causing it at that point. But I continued to eat soy for years and years until about 5 years ago when I greatly reduced the amount of soy. I pretty much rarely eat it. It's like a special treat for me right now. And that's made a huge improvement for my gut. The rest of my allergic reaction type symptoms started around the same time as the gut issues, and I didn't know what to think of it. I'd recently moved to Los Angeles, and I thought maybe it was related to the atmosphere here, like maybe it was the smog, or maybe it was just a change in scenery or environment that I was in. So I started taking just regular over-the-counter allergy medicines, but they didn't really work that well. So I went to a doctor and asked them about it, and they didn't really have anything to say. I barely even remember this doctor, but I do remember her saying, she gave me like a little sheet, and I felt like with basic like allergy tips, and I felt really like left out on my own. She told me to try hypoallergenic linens on my bed and to get an air filter. So I did, and neither of them made a huge difference, but she basically was like, I don't know, just keep taking Benadryl or whatever. It wasn't that helpful. And later at some point I went to get an allergy test done, and I got it done and I came up negative. I think it was blood. Yeah, it was blood tests. There are a few different types of allergy tests, and they tested me for all the common allergens, and I came up negative. So I didn't go any further with it. I thought, okay, maybe this is just a temporary thing. I didn't know what was going on. So I just kept experimenting, and I would just be miserable. I'd be blowing my nose a lot. People always thought I was sick, and I had to explain I wasn't. Just years and years of misery, and went to multiple doctors, and none of them had a solution. One doctor recommended I take Flonase, which is a nasal steroid, and I took that. It relieved my symptoms, but it was super expensive. And as I was starting to learn more about the effects of medicine and prescription drugs on our bodies, I started to feel uncomfortable with taking that. So I went to my natural co-op, the food store, and I started to explore the natural medicine there. And that's when I learned about the neti pot. So the neti pot is when you take a saline solution and you irrigate your nose. So you pour it through one side, it comes out the other, and then you pour it through the side, and it made a massive difference. I would do this morning and night, and it really took away a lot of my symptoms, but it didn't get rid of them. I should really say that it soothed them. And it was nice, but I was still having them. I didn't really know what else to do. Then a friend of mine encouraged me to try the gluten-free diet, and this is almost exactly 5 years ago. And going gluten-free made one of the biggest differences in my life. In fact, it was just as big of a deal as it was when I went vegan. I lost a ton of weight from inflammation. It turns out that my body was super inflamed because it was sensitive to gluten. I've never been tested for celiac. I don't know, based on kind of the symptoms I've read about, I don't think I'm celiac, but I haven't been tested for that. And it just seems like my body does not enjoy gluten products, and I've experimented having them every now and then I get these challenging reactions to them, and that made me realize it doesn't matter if I'm celiac or not, I just don't feel good when I eat gluten, so I rarely eat it. Same with soy. As I said earlier, I took soy out of my diet for the most part around the same time as going gluten-free, and almost all of my gut issues disappeared as a result. So 5 years ago was when I started to think, maybe there's something to the specific foods that I'm eating, right? I feel good as a vegan, but I feel even better gluten-free and mostly soy-free. But it wasn't until recently, probably in the past couple years, that I started to realize that it wasn't just those two foods that I was sensitive to. I started to notice a sensitivity to almonds, which was such a bummer, but I would find that when I ate a few almonds, I would have immediate nasal reactions. I also noticed a sensitivity to corn. I noticed anytime that I ate corn, I started to get an itchy scalp, and I would actually get like scabs on my scalp, and to this day, organic or not, I have those reactions to corn. So here I was, gluten-free, soy-free, almond-free, and corn-free. I noticed a sensitivity to sugars, so I had to greatly reduce sugar and only eat unrefined sugars. I'm able to eat stevia, which isn't technically a sugar, coconut sugars, not really agave. I still find that's hard on my system, but things like brown rice syrup or any of the less processed sweeteners out there. Dates have always been pretty easy for me to enjoy. Sorry for the loud noise. And so I started to just a couple years ago, started to notice this connection there between specific foods and how my body reacted. Then I started to get a rash on my torso. I went to a doctor, and again, this doctor, even though she was like pretty holistically minded, she had no idea why I had that rash, and it was so frustrating. I mean, I can't even count how many doctors I've seen and how many things I've tried. I've tried acupuncture and that didn't help, and taking herbs. I've gone to holistic doctors and they all just kind of shrug and they say, I don't know. And it's so frustrating. And I thought maybe I had candida. I started to think some of my symptoms were candida-like, but this doctor said, no, I don't think this is candida. So I didn't know what to do, right? And it wasn't until just a few months ago that I learned about the low histamine diet and thought, I gotta give this a try. And it has made such a profound impact. So long story short, I've seen a lot of doctors in my day and none of them have been helpful yet. I'm still hopeful that there's a doctor or few out there that'll be able to help me. There's one that I would really like to consult with named Dr. Susan Bennett, who wrote this book called The 7-Day Allergy Makeover, which is a phenomenal book about allergies, and she talks a lot about food. She talks about all these like little things in our lives that can cause allergies, and she actually lives in Los Angeles, so I'd really like to go see her. Jason Robel has talked a lot about his health journey, and by getting a huge blood test done, how that has helped him learn a lot about his body, so I want to do that too. Now, why haven't I done those yet? Because they're really expensive. Right now, I don't have health insurance, and most of these doctors may not even take health insurance. In fact, I think Jason, he has health insurance, but he paid out of pocket to get that big test done. And I don't know about Susan Bennett yet, but for me, I would rather spend my money on a few visits than pay for health insurance month after month after month and not really use it on the type of doctors I want to go to. But that's a whole nother story. I'm not going to get into the health insurance thing in this video. So it looks like I'm going to need somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000, maybe even more, to go really get some more answers, but I don't even know. I mean, I don't know what's going to come up in a blood test. I don't know how knowledgeable these doctors are. And I think that's part of the reason why I've taken it upon myself to experiment and research, is that you never know when you go to a doctor. I mean, in my past history, every doctor I've been to has not helped me at all. The biggest help that I've received has been studying, researching it, reading other people's stories, and trying it myself. And that's how I came across the low histamine diet. And barely anybody's talking about this yet. I think it's going to become a bigger thing, because the more I learn about low histamine, the more I see that probably a lot of people have these issues. And low histamine is also all connected to the gut. And I think what's really been going on for 10, maybe more years is that I need to heal my gut. I need to really focus on eating foods that are gentle on my body, that allow my gut to recover from whatever is going on. And I bet you that has so much to explain with everything else happening in my head, with the sinus and the inflammation and all of that. It's just such a bummer that very few doctors are knowledgeable about this, and we have to take it upon ourselves. So if any of you happen to know a really great doctor, a really great blood test, or other books out there, please send them my way. I'm completely open, but I wanted to give you a history of what I've been through, where I'm at right now, and why going to a doctor and getting blood tests is not my first priority. Instead, I want to go to the grocery store and load up on healing foods, do my best every single day, and bring you along the journey on this channel. Thank you so much for being so understanding and being there for me. I really, really appreciate all of your support. And I'll see you next time with another Daily Wave video. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet and you want to follow my journey, you want to see more about what I eat on a daily basis, you can do so. The link is right there on the YouTube page. You can also go to the main Eco Vegan Gal channel to learn all about different aspects of healthy vegan living. Evie's going a little nuts right now. And I would love to see you on social media too. All those links are right down below in the description field. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.